Hey YouTube, are you Fender Bass VI curious? Have you looked at that really unusual Fender model known as the Bass VI and asked, what exactly is it? Might I like to play one? But when you looked at the market, because it's such a selective model, there's not that many options out there. Now Squier does make a classic Vibe 6, which is a much more accessible price point, but if you're really not sure if you want to play it, do you still want to throw that much money down? Thankfully, the fine folks at IYV in Vietnam, they have created a Bass 6 budget alternative. They give you some cool options in a nice budget sub $200 level so that you can try it out, see if you like it, and see if this is something for you. And if not, you're not out that much money, and you can probably resell it for about what you buy it for, because these are running at not just sub 200 but at right around $150 on Amazon, and you get a lot for the money. So stay tuned as we take a closer look at this and we really dig into the question of what exactly is a Bass 6. So the first thing to note is if you look this up on Amazon, it's going to be under there as a baritone style guitar, and that is just incorrect. That's not right. A baritone guitar is a 6-string long scale normal guitar. It is still strung with regular guitar strings. They tend to be heavier gauge because it has a drop tuning, and so typically they're tuned to B. And I've never played a baritone. It's never been attracted to me, but it's particularly people with heavier music tend to love them. But that is what a baritone guitar is. It is a step down, but it is not a whole octave. This is a whole octave. This is an actual bass, but it has been designed for guitar players, and so it has the same exact 6 strings. They're tuned the same way. They're just, they're dropped an octave from regular guitar. And so this gives you the option that you can play something that plays a lot more like a regular guitar. It feels, the spacing and everything feels very familiar to your fingers. It's just has a lot fatter strings on it, and it has that octave down low end growl to it. Now the deficiencies of this are, first of all, it's shorter scale, and so it is commensurate to a short scale bass, but it is even more reduced than that in terms of the body. Is not nearly as heavy as most bass guitars. It doesn't have as much heft, and the strings themselves are also reduced. They are not nearly as fat as a regular standard 4-string bass, and they are spaced a lot closer to one another because, again, on your hand it's going to feel a lot closer to a regular 6-string guitar. Now the benefit of that is it makes doing runs and faster work a lot easier, and so if you're a bass player that likes to do really fast maneuvers, this might be a really good way to go. Also, if you are a guitar player that is just, you want to be able to step into the role of bass from time to time, but you don't want a dedicated 4-string and all of the relearning of your muscle memory that entails, this gives you a really good option to lay down some bass tracks without having to, in essence, learn a new instrument. You're just stepping down an octave. Now, because the strings are closer spaced, another aspect, if you are a bass player trying to come over to this is going to feel more foreign to you because you do not have nearly as much space between the strings for doing plucking, right? There's not as much space there. So it's a lot harder to get your fingers in there. You're much more likely to bump the strings next to it and cause noise. So if you are a funk slap style bass player, you do a lot of hard plucking this is probably not for you. You just, you know, and generally speaking, I think playing with fingers is harder on this because of that spacing issue. Coming over from a 4-string bass, you have a lot more room in there. You can do double fingering and so forth. This, it's a lot harder to do that without accidentally also hitting the other strings because they're so much closer. So generally speaking, playing this, I've been playing it primarily with a pick. Yeah, but once again, as you would, you know, play a guitar. It feels like you're playing guitar, it's just an octave down. And, you know, it's a way to lay down those bass tracks for a guitar player, really. And, you know, in terms of the quality of this instrument, you can take a look. I've already got a unboxing review on this. It's quite an excellent instrument. It has very, you know, for being budget, you're talking sub $200, it is very, very well done. The body is contoured very nicely, it's weighted nicely, the finish is very nice. It's just a very typical 3-tone vintage sunburst. The neck, it does have, it's got the angled head on it, but the inline 6, and so it does have a scarf joint there, which is well done. There's a little bit of coloration difference, but nothing bad. And it does have bindings, cream bindings going up the side, as well as a very nice satin neck. And so, you know, for being a budget, just basement price instrument, this is a lot of instrument for the money. You know, the pickups, could they be better? Absolutely. I mean, everything could be better. It is a budget instrument, but out of the box, it is playable. It gives you a usable instrument that you can test out this really peculiar design without having to throw a huge amount of cash at it. This is the difficulty of having a studio in our living room. Now, something stylistically to take a note, if you look at the listing on there, this is listed as, again, as a baritone, which it is not, but it has, this one has the newer logo on it, where they've gone to a simpler logo. It's funny because the tuners on this are actually branded, but they have the slightly older logo. And I noticed that looking at two of the same guitar. I got, it was such a great deal on this budget, 400 LP, that I went ahead and bought a second one. And I noticed between them, and you can see I've got some comparison videos looking at them, that they've changed some things, including the logo. And I think at the same time, one of the things they dropped was where it says Destiny CNC, and it's engraved on the pickups or, you know, painted on the plastic, and they don't have that on here. And so when you're looking at the listing, you'll see those aspects, but this is the newer model. This one is a 24, and I believe that it's year, month, so it would be November 24. So this is a rather new model. Now, what kind of sounds can you get out of this guitar? It is not going to have the rumble, that extreme bass rumble that you get out of a true bass. And there are 6-string basses, but their necks are considerably fatter because the spacing is following the 4-string. And this is a lot narrower again, and the strings are of a lighter gauge than a typical bass string. This has a special set of strings on it. But you can get into the bass register, you just won't get that tremendous, you know, feel it in your chest. And that's, I think, accounts for why this has been such a niche instrument, that it's a lot of people out there are probably curious about them, but do you really want one? Do you like it? It is weird. It is weird. It is a strange instrument. And so if it appeals to you, this is a great option for, you know, not putting a lot of money into it, but it gives you an entry into the very peculiar Bass 6 world. So another question that goes along with it is, should you be using a guitar amp? Do you need to get a dedicated bass amp? Now, I have a dedicated bass amp, it just hasn't made it to my new house yet. And I've got a little 50-watt PV cube thing, real old school, I've had for a long time. Right now, I'm just feeding it through this, you know, Black Star 50 debut 50R, and, you know, got the bass bass cranked a little bit on it. Now, one thing about this, if it gets really, really squawky if you turn the treble up. It gets real squawky real quick, which allows you to do those. But again, it's really hard to get a hold of the strings on this because of the spacing. So generally speaking, I roll the treble back probably down to about 1 or 2. Now the pickup configuration is identical to a standard Strat, and so it gives you the 5-way selector. This is a lot simpler than the Fender Bass VI, which has the individual toggle controls on it instead, and more of the Jaguar style electronics. But this is, I think, just a little simpler. This also gives you a good opportunity for a finger strengthener. You might not even intend to gig with this or anything, but if you play this exactly like you would play your guitar, it's just harder because oh man, that's a lot heavier string than I'm used to right there. And so you play this for a few hours, and then go pick up your regular 6-string, and those bends won't feel nearly as hard. So should you consider getting one of these? I mean, this is a perfectly playable and enjoyable instrument, and so it gives you a gateway into the Bass 6 world at a fraction of the cost, and you can see, do you actually want to play one of these more seriously? Do you want to level up to a Squier or Fender? Or is it just not your thing, and now you have a fun novelty to add to your collection, or resell and probably get most or all of your money back? I think it's a solid instrument at a solid price, and they're not paying me anything to say any of this. This is just my opinion, and I've got a lot of IYVs now because again and again I keep getting just blown away by the quality to price ratio that they offer. And so if you're, Fender Bass VI curious, this is a true legit option for you to see if you want to play one of these more seriously. As always, thank you all for watching. You have a wonderful day.